everyone, it's Froniga here and welcome to Aussies Do Down Under homeschool season. Today I'm going to be giving you a homeschool newsletter, so stick around. Today I'm going to be giving a little bit of a homeschool newsletter episode, but before I do, I'd just like to welcome all my new subscribers from this week. Thank you very much. Also, thank you to all the new subscribers who have been here for the whole time. And just to remind everyone, if you haven't subscribed yet and you think it's something you might like to do, please hit that subscribe button down below. It's a great boost and I love to have you on board. But today, we are talking about homeschool newsletters because recently I got the Queensland Government Homeschool Summer Edition Newsletter 2009. Now, I know that not everyone is in Queensland, so some of the information may be not relevant, but a lot of it is, and a lot of authorities are going to want or desire or need similar things from us homeschool parents. So I thought it might be interesting to give you a little bit of information from this newsletter. And maybe the newbies out there who've never had an authority looking over them with homeschooling might like to get a peek into what's expected of you. Now, I did do an episode on homeschool compulsory reporting for your authority, and I'll put a link to that somewhere here for all those people who are interested. And it does go into great detail of what your authority is going to want. Look, I am gearing it to the Queensland Authority for homeschooling, but a lot of the authorities will want and need the same things from you. But today I just thought I would touch on this newsletter that I got from the authority in Queensland. It's just giving some updates. It's sort of reminding people of a few legal things. And I thought it might be interesting to just share with you so you get a bit of insight into what they're expecting. So first up on the first page, it's just reminding you of a few legalities and things that you may have forgotten. One of those major things is changing your circumstances. If you've moved like I have, and your homeschool is no longer in the same address, you need to notify your authority, usually in writing, so that they can change their records. So this is a great reminder, especially for someone like me who's just moved, or maybe you moved 3 months ago. Don't stress if you've moved 3 months ago and you've forgotten to do it. It's quite normal. Just make sure you do it as soon as you can, and don't feel like you have to lie about the date. Just tell them the date. Look, we're all human, we all make mistakes. As long as you tell them when you can, that's the main thing. Another circumstance that might change, like again in my scenario, is your child may go back to school. So Sienna has now gone back to school. So I need to notify them of that. And in Queensland, I need to give her certificate registration back to the authority because she's no longer. You've just got to remember, a child can't be simultaneously registered in school and home. They're supposed to only be in one thing. So they just need to know that and to, say that you're no longer needing to be registered for homeschool. So that's something that is prevalent to me at the moment. So I've noticed in this that they do mention some people are sending in samples of work from teachers or from, say, a music teacher or an art teacher. And that's actually not supposed to be what you're sending in. You're supposed to be sending in samples from your child that you have taught them or that a registered teacher has taught them. Because the music teacher, although still important, that's not supposed to be the person teaching them. And when you're sending in samples, you're supposed to be sending them samples of the work that you have taught them or a registered teacher. So obviously a few people have done that and that's why they've put it in this. So that's pretty much it. That's the update, so to speak. Then the Queensland has a card for home educated children. So if your child is over the age of 15, I think, they can actually get like an ID card. Now usually, when you go to school and you can get that sort of ID card for kids around that 16, so they can get cheaper transport and that sort of thing. Well, if you're home educated, this is your version of that. So that's good to know. Another thing they're advertising on this is a platform called Scootle, and that's there. Basically, this is a learning resource. It's for teachers as well as home educators, so it's widely used. And what it says, its available resources include video clips, information sites, games, and material to promote critical and creative thinking. I'm going to have a look at that. I've never seen that before, so I'm going to go and have a look and see if it's a great resource, and I'll get back to you about that in a future episode. I really have to stick my tongue back in, don't I? Okay, so the next thing they've got on here is... This I thought was really interesting. So this is a career expo for kids, but for homeschool. So what they're doing is they've got it's called My Future, and it is a web-based resource that kids can go to check job possibilities, to explore apprenticeships that might be available to them, to explore vocational education training, and also to explore alternative pathways to higher education. So if they want to go off to uni after they've been homeschooling, how they go about that. And they've also got in this access to tertiary studies, which is a little bit of a guide from Griffith University, which is a Queensland university, in regard to how to get into university if you are a homeschool person or a homeschool child. There is a lot of different ways to get into university. You don't have to go through that traditional year 12 study, do your exam, get the mark kind of way. You can do bridging years. So say if you haven't done the year 12, you're homeschooling, you can show your work, and then you can also do like what they call a bridgeway sort of, I think it's about a year long, and it helps you get prepared for university study, but you do it in the university, so they run it. There's also other TAFE ones that do exactly the same as well. Griffith also has what they call a personal statement pathway. So if you are wanting to go to university and you are a homeschool kid, don't feel like you have to go back and do 10, 11 and 12 or 11 and 12, depending on which state you're in, just to get that score to go to uni. There are other ways, and these are becoming a lot easier and a lot more common as time goes on, because a lot more children are actually homeschooling these days, and there's a lot of other people who want to get into uni who maybe didn't do it. So if you have a uni near you, it's probably a great idea to give them a call, email admissions there, and just ask of the alternative pathways for the uni of your choice, or where you want to go, or maybe just a TAFE that you want to go to, and see what alternative pathways they may have for homeschool kids. And it's probably a good idea to do this in, say, year 9, even if you don't know what you want to do yet, because you can always ring them, find out what their pathways are, and then once you start to have a feeling of what you want to do after high school, then you can decide what you need to do prior and have that ready to go, so that when you're finished year 12, off you go to the uni, you know exactly what they want. Maybe it's a bridging year, maybe it's something else, maybe it's a portfolio, depending on what you want to do. But find out earlier than later, because that way you're going to be far more prepared, and you're not going to be sort of nervous or anxious about how your child, or how you as the student, is going to get into uni. Because I know when I first started doing homeschool, I was so fearful, what if they end up homeschooling the whole time and then they can't get into uni because they don't have that score? It's not always necessary. It may take a little bit longer, but it also may be quicker, because you might be able to do some of these earlier bridging years or TAFE years prior to year 12 actually even finishing in some states or in some courses. So it's worth having a look. Even as a parent, when your kids are young in primary school, just call them up, see what's available, see some of the bridging that can happen. And that way, again, if it's doing nothing else, it might alleviate that anxiety, the anxiety that you can sometimes feel being a parent homeschooling your children. So the next couple of pages are sort of what's on pages. So some of the other stuff is Remembrance Day ceremony things. There is an art gallery exhibition coming and a family fun day. So these pages are really just there to advertise what's going on around me. And I'm sure in your authority, in your state, in your area, they're going to have things that are more relevant to you as well. So these are just some library activities that are happening in my area. So on the last page, we have how to effectively monitor and record educational progress. Now, I had a subscriber not long ago ask me about this exact topic, so I thought that it was great. I get this newsletter and everything was really relevant to me in the sense of I've moved, one of my children have gone back to school, and I just had someone ask me this very question, so I thought that was great. So I'm going to get into a little bit more detail about this one. So basically it's giving you ideas, and I have, again, when I did that compulsory reporting video, I did mention a lot of this, so you can go and see that again. But I just thought I'd get into this a little bit more because I find a lot of people get anxious about this. I know I did, about, what do I collect? How do I show what my kid is learning? How do I, keep that record? What style of record do I need? A lot of people will go overboard, me included, but you don't necessarily need to have all that stress involved with it. They're not expecting artworks of these reports. They just want samples, and they don't have to be, amazing 20-page reports that you do on your child. They're not expecting that. They're wanting to know is about what knowledge, skills, and understanding your child has developed, and what future planning that you're, doing for your child to achieve some of those outcomes that you want to for your child. And it's all about collecting evidence that is recording and demonstrating your child's educational journey. So some different ways that you can show this. You can make a written report, you can show work samples from your child, or you can put together a bit more of a formal reporting process. This is going to involve gathering some of your child's samples of work. But remember, like I said in the last video, it's good to do different stages of that sample. So if you're doing a brainstorming part of a project, that's a great snapshot of what you want to give as a sample of their work. The next thing might be a rough draft. Great sample, snap that. You've got the two parts of that problem. And then the third is the last final result of the project. So you've got 3 areas to show, which shows a progression for your child in that area of study. Again, it's also noting at the bottom here that if you want to see samples of work that is satisfactory and both non-satisfactory of kids' work that people have sent in, most authorities will have samples of that. I know the Queensland government does. So you could even go on the Queensland government, see what they want if yours doesn't, and that way you have a bit of an idea. Because like I said, it's across the board, they're pretty much wanting the same sort of thing. They will give you examples. You can see what you've got that's similar to the ones that are satisfactory and send those ones in, and it'll also show you what they're sort of wanting to see in those ones. So that's basically the newsletter. Like I said, it's giving you a little bit of a heads up on maybe what things are happening in your area. It's telling you some of the things that people are doing maybe wrong or that you need to be mindful of. And it's giving some really great information on your reporting and resources and that sort of thing. So I think it's a really good newsletter. I'd love to know if your authority in your area does a newsletter like this. Maybe they do it, have a weekly newsletter, maybe they do it once a year, I don't know. But if you can pop down in the comments below if your area or your authority does one of these, because I think it's a great idea. Maybe it's something you could suggest if they don't. As always, if you've liked this video, please hit the like button down below. If you haven't subscribed yet and you feel like you might like to, please hit that subscribe button. Great to have you on board. I will be back next week with another video, but until then, thanks for watching and I'll see you next. Bye!